The first race showed us the new multi-class format can put on a great show, but Spa will be a polar opposite to Sonoma in terms of speed and length. Will that see a change in the pecking order? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes, our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road racing fans have gotten plenty of Spa over the last month or two, but if you missed it before, here's a refresher with our track guide. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Radillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round. This is definitely a fan favorite, so no wonder they put it on the schedule here for the Porsche Owners Club, Joey.
I think not only a fan favorite, but a driver's favorite as well. A racetrack that is world-renowned, Spa. 19 turns, 4.35 miles in length, or 7 kilometers, depending on which units you really want to use around here. And the layout that we're using, La Source hairpin, looks like it's going to be turn 1 here for us tonight. And then one of the most famous sections in all of motorsports, Eau Rouge and Radillon, that S section that you have the huge compression and then it spits you out up at the top of the hill up through the Kemmel Straight. But when I look at this, it is all about top speed and then moderation when it comes to the downforce. The first sector here, all straightaways. Sector number 2, it is extreme downhill. Heavy elevation where you need the more medium downforce, and then the back sector, sector 3, it's once again a lot of straightaways as you climb up out of the lowest part down there at turn 15 all the way up to the start-finish line.
It's going to be a test of these drivers, especially in those GTPs. But before we see how they take it, why don't we mention our sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Well, why don't we have a quick glance at how this race is going to go down here, Joey, and go over our race details.
Yeah, just the second round here of the season, and we are running that multi-class format. So we have 2 different cars on the racetrack, the standard GT3 car, the Porsche 911 GT3R, as well as the new prototype. That's the Porsche 963 GTP car. So that's what you see in the WEC, in the IMSA series. They race at Le Mans, Daytona, and whatnot. So we do have the 2 different classes. A 30-minute race is what the competitors are going to be doing. They're actually in a 30-minute qualifying session as well right now. And then it's an open setup. That means if you don't like the way the car drives, well, you can go and download a setup, or you can tweak and tune it however you want to. If you need a little bit more front end grip, we'll open up those shocks, see about spring rates, see what you can do with the sway bars. It is up to you and exactly how you want to tweak and tune that car so that way it drives perfect around this racetrack.
Yeah, I got to imagine it'll be a bit of a toss-up between that downforce and having the straight line speed around here, because you could definitely go for either and still find some strengths. But right now in qualifying, the strength goes to Sagardawan in the 5:01 by about 0.2 of a second. Not much around a lap of this length, as it's about 2 minutes just to circulate here. And then down in the GT3s, which we have a few more cars this week, Matt Steele is actually our fastest currently.
Yeah, just got a few minutes left here. That's one of the trickier sections as we really start to go downhill through turn 9, which I believe is no longer called No Name Corner. I believe it's Jackie Hicks Corner as they go down to now turn 10 Puhan. That is one of the coolest sections on this racetrack. I mentioned Eau Rouge and Radion, but Puhan here, that huge double apex left-hander where you're just carrying all the speed downhill. It really requires a lot of commitment.
It certainly does. I've always found it to be pretty tough. And so we watch the number 5, carried quite a bit there off of the Fanny chicane. We'll have to hope that he stayed within the track boundaries, because he's only going to get what looks to be about one more lap around here, maybe 2, depending on how fast he gets the line. This is up to the notorious Blanchimont in these GT3 cars. That's going to be a little trickier than the F1 cars we saw last weekend.
It should still be flat out, but when I think of the 2 different cars on the racetrack at the same time, that specific section might cause a few traffic jams, especially with the speed difference, the top speed difference going through that corner.
Yeah, there's no pit stops in this race, and with it only being 30 minutes. So while they won't catch them too many times, there's really no trying to dive out of the way by coming into those pit stops for these cars. Looks like last lap did count for Steele, and he's going to park it. So that is going to be it for him from here, as he won't have enough time to get back around and start a new lap. But what about Darwin, who still holds the fastest time? Hasn't changed, it looks like, since AJ Roper. Actually, I take that back. Did Roper come within, I think, 1/1000ths quicker maybe that time? Because I feel like it was just slightly smaller than that before. But AJ Roper still out there circulating. It looks like maybe trying to warm the tires up a little bit to get one last flyer.
I feel one of the things that the drivers might come to grips with here in qualifying is those incident limits. Now, it's not a big deal when it comes to the race, right? We didn't cover it in the details, but when it comes to qualifying, if you pick up those 1Xs, it'll disallow the lap. So you really have to keep it all the way inside the curbs here and be especially careful through the bus stop chicane. It is so easy to just run a little bit wide, and all of a sudden, that lap, it's all discounted.
And unlike the current Spa, where they've replaced some of that paved runoff with some gravel in places, this is the older version that still allows you to kind of run off and get away with it, at least in terms of not wrecking out necessarily. But yeah, it'll delete those lap times, and incident limits can still catch up to you in the race itself. They do have a 17x incident limit before they get a penalty, but like you said, 30-minute race, so hopefully they aren't going that hog wild.
Dylan Scott is the start of a new lap. This is that Eau Rouge Radion section, the big compression, and then it spits you out up over the top. I know that it looks pretty level from here on out, but all the way up this Kemmel Straight, it is still uphill, but this will be the top speed section. I'm seeing about 185, almost 190 miles an hour before those GTP machines are jumping on the brakes.
Less than 20 seconds to go. Anybody who wants to start a new lap better get across now. Michael Johnson just did that and actually set his personal best. He jumps up to 7th, and he's going to park it after that. So nice little improvement right at the very end for him. As we watch John Momeyer, who looks to be among some of the first that are going to be getting that checkered flag. Baccignona had his lap not count, unfortunately. Momeyer finally puts one on the board at a 22.9, but he stays last on the timing sheets.
Yeah, of those GT3 cars, and just to kind of let everybody know, the GT3 cars are doing about a 219, 220, and then the GTPs are doing about a 2-minute lap. The fast guys are just under that at about a 158, maybe a 159, as we watch Doug really push the limits on that kind of the track right there. You got to be careful. We were just talking about those incident limits, and that's another place that you can easily pick up a 1X.
I mean, we often talk about the IMSA Vintage Series being a dramatic difference between the cars, and you're looking at 10 to 13 seconds per lap. 20 seconds per lap difference for these cars, even on a length of this lap. That's massive.
It's pretty drastic, and especially with this style of racetrack, the closing speeds in certain areas. Well, let me just say this. We're going to have 30 minutes of action, especially when the GTPs catch those GT3s.
Certainly. Not seeing many drivers able to get a quicker time down on the board, and I just saw Will Castillo, I think, dip both wheels off a little bit too far, so I don't think he's going to have this lap count regardless. And I think he's going to be the last one anyways. Oh, he goes way deep just to add to his misery into the bus stop chicane. And, of course, he'll try and bring it into pit lane, maybe with a few problems along the way. But that will now end our qualifying with no other cars able to set a quicker time. So, yeah, I mean, this is, like I said in the intro, Joey, this is going to be quite a different race than what we saw at Sonoma, I think.
I think so. I've been talking about the racetrack this entire qualifying session, but it couldn't be more different than what we saw in round one. Sonoma was such a small, tight, technical racetrack. This is a much, much bigger, faster racetrack.
All right, looks like they're lining up now, so I guess we'll go through our starting grid for today. We've got Sagar Dawan in the pole position once again. AJ Roper going to try and chase him down as BJ Fulton will start from third today. Then it's going to be Dylan Scott starting from the fourth spot as Mark Rondeau will be P5. Jad Duncan, we've seen him a little higher than this in recent races. He'll start all the way down in sixth with Michael Johnson starting in seventh. After that, it is Dustin Heindel in eighth, Ian Roche in ninth, and Will Castillo rounds out our 10 GTPs. What's the GT3 class looking like here, Joey?
The number 5 of Matt Steele is your pole sitter in the GT3s. Jeff Shulam will be lined up next to him in second place in that number 371. Doug Boccignoni will be in third place. Larry Haas starting fourth, and John Momeyer rounds out the 5 GT3 cars we've got entered.
All right, Joey. So you mentioned that this, layout takes us to La Source as the first corner. Now it's a rolling start, so that's slightly different from what we see on the chaotic standing starts into that hairpin. But you still are going to have everybody pretty bunched up. If it was you in the car, what's your approach into that corner?
I actually don't want to lead going into La Source because the Kemmel Straight is so gosh dang long here. It's actually better to get the draft, be in second place, kind of let somebody pull you up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion, and then utilize that slipstream on the straightaway to go past, make an outbreak and move into that turn 5 and 6 section out there where you've got a good brake zone. That would be my strategy. But the one big danger part, turn 1, that La Source hairpin, be careful with those GTPs and that brake-by-wire rear lockup.
Pretty good track temperatures for our drivers, 92 Fahrenheit or about 33 Celsius. So that'll get the tires up to temperature without hopefully overcooking them dramatically before this race is over. Although with so many fast corners, these GTP cars are definitely going to be putting stress through them as boy, they are holding back somewhat. AJ Roper better pull up alongside that front row here a little sooner. There he goes. Now he gets up into it.
Just got to go through this little bus stop chicane, and Barney is going to be patiently waiting with that green flag. And I do see the GT3s are not going to do a split start, so it will be all together.
Let's cross our fingers that this stays clean in the first corner, or else they're piling into a mess. They're out of the final chicane. And we wait patiently for the call from the flag stand, and there it is. Green flag is out and not going anywhere. AJ Roper seems to have wasted that front row start. He's fallen down to fourth. He's going to try and fight his way back up. Somebody almost losing control around the outside as we nearly go 4 wide, and I think we've made it through.
I think we were 4 wide on the exit. Michael Johnson, I believe, was one of the cars. That purple car stuck right in the middle of it all. Now they're single file through this S section. Who's going to keep their foot to the floor and use the slipstream along this Kemmel Straight? 3 wide already.
The wheels in the grass there for Johnson. thankfully is able to keep it from spinning out as they're going to send it into Lacombe. He's going to back out of it, although he nearly gets into the back of somebody as he dodges into the grass. I think that was Ian Roast that he nearly hit, and Heindel also had to escape into the off track.
This is the GT3s going through this turn 5 and 6 section for the first time. John Momeyer on the back. I can't report to you that I believe it was the number 5 car of Matt Steele that really didn't get going off of the green flag, but has recovered.
Another big moment for Dustin Heindel as he goes around the outside off of No Name Corner. Now they slide into Pouan, and there's more contact between Johnson and Roche. Once again, Johnson lifts to try and avoid a bigger accident.
I think we're going to have to bring Michael into the booth and let him know this isn't a GT3 car anymore. You can't be using those bumpers as much. You got to keep those aerodynamics. And looks like we've actually got a yellow flag on the racetrack. We've got 2 of our GT3 cars that have been turned around. I believe it was Larry Haas and John Momeyer, but I think we're going to stack it all up and get it restarted.
Indeed. So those 2 coming together seems to have triggered the yellow flag here, full course caution. Now, what this is this series essentially has an incident limit on the first lap, and that takes into account all the cars. If the drivers go over that incident limit, then they will throw the caution flag to try and cover off in case you do get a big wreck. Now, obviously, we didn't have a gigantic pileup in this one. I think they just were a little too liberal with those off tracks.
I think so, too. So this is going to be the replay. This is coming down the hill into Pouan. Let's watch these 2 GT3 cars, exactly what happens here to Larry Haas. A little bit wide, just loose with the rear engine. Actually, similar spins, just both of them going around. Unfortunately, Larry Haas made contact with that guardrail, and then I believe it was John Momeyer that just had the innocent spin off to the outside there. So hopefully, I think Momeyer and Haas, if there's any damage, should be able to come down and get that fixed, especially with how long the safety car lap is here.
Yeah, and they've got those spare cars waiting for them, so if they need it. Momeyer actually carried on, so it looks like he's fine, and I think Larry Haas did as well. That was also Doug Baccignone in the blue and green that you saw doing a great job avoiding becoming a part of the accident. And this is what I wanted to see, the run down into turn 1. I'm actually impressed that they didn't have a wreck, because this was definitely aggressive from a few people.
And this is the perfect car to focus on. So it's busy going in. There's a big old rally car slide on the outside, but watch, 4 wide right here on the exit. Little bit of door banging, but I can't tell which car scooted through the middle. Talk about some traction coming off of the corner.
I think that was Will Castillo in the sort of orangish red machine. That number 10 must have gotten 3 spots in just that one turn. That was brilliant stuff. And then more of the 3 wide started to happen.
Yeah, you're right, just getting pushed off the track there, going up into 5 and 6. But if that is any sort of preview for what's going to come in the remaining 25 minutes, I can't wait to get back to green flag racing.
Same here. And hopefully they should be able to bring the pace laps down a little bit here and get this going pretty quickly, because with a long lap like this, unfortunately, that also means it takes a long time for the pace car to circulate, which will suck up the green flag racing opportunities that we do have, and we want to see them get out there and start racing once again. So your order now is Darwin, Fulton, Scott, your top 3 in the GTP, Shulam, Steele, Baccignone in the GT3s. Let's watch from onboard Dylan Scott. Is he the one that almost lost control here?
I think that was a little bit further in the back of the pack, but this is going to give us a great onboard of exactly what it looks like from inside the cockpit. You got to be so patient right here, waiting for that green flag. Then all of a sudden, everybody is released, and look at the whole shot that he really got up to the outside. Let's see, does he able to hang it out around the outside? There was the action that we were looking for. I believe that was it Mark Rondeau? I think that was two wheels off the outside there.
You might be right. Actually, I think
it's Heindel. Yeah. You're right, yes. It's the number 15 of Heindel.
I mean, magnificent save on his part, because that was a wreck that didn't happen, essentially. Great stuff there from the number 15. Unfortunately, he's down an 8th out of 10 cars now, though, but still plenty of race left to go after that one. And yeah, I mean, that was impressive reaction times there off the line from the driver we rode on board with, because AJ Roper not getting going quickly really could have also caused his own issues. Now, lights are still on the pace car, which unfortunately means we will be going around another time unless they get those turned off soon.
But you know what? This isn't that out of the normal for what we see in actual professional road racing as well. Now, Joe, I know that you cover a lot of World Challenge stuff, and those are traditionally sprint races. They kind of range between 30, 45, 60 minutes in length, depending on what it is. And they do have accidents. They do have wrecks. And these drivers, they're going to have to adapt. Yeah, they came in prepared, ready to go 30 minutes of racing. But all of a sudden, you gotta retrain your brain and say, you know what? This is going to turn into a qualifying session where it's going to be an all-out sprint. You have to be as aggressive as possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. And now they've changed it to 1 to go. So they have definitely shortened it. Let's get one more look at Heindel. Look at how sideways he is. And he didn't even run into the car next to him, which is the other thing that I think is just a real wow factor of that catch.
Now, Porsche doesn't make a rally car, right? This is the GTP car, right?
I mean, I believe it was 911s that were used a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think is one of the coolest looking rally cars, if you ask me.
And I believe the street cars, I believe they still have a Dakar edition 911, but it's not an actual race car, rally car. But yeah, just being facetious, a great save from Dustin Heindel. And I had mentioned the rear lockup in these GTP cars because they use a brake-by-wire system. They have a hybrid system to harvest energy and whatnot, and it's just a little bit of a different feeling inside the race car. And I'm actually surprised that with the car going off into the grass, coupled with that rear braking system, that he didn't actually lose control.
So now he's got to use that second chance to try and make up a lot of spots, like we said, restarting from 8th as they head up the Kimmel Straight here. Hopefully next time it'll be at full tilt once again. This might actually wind up being a 15-minute sprint race, this one, the way these laps are going. Last lap was a 4:15. So yeah, we're looking at about 17 minutes or thereabouts to try and get around and get as many positions as they can. And one thing we should point out in this rule set that they have, they will not throw that caution again after this first one. That's it. It's green flag from here on out.
Me as a cutthroat competitor, my brain is screaming right now because we're not in the fixed setup anymore, right? It's an open setup. We're under caution flag. I would be trying to burn fuel, right? I've always traditionally been taught save fuel, save fuel, save fuel, drive it like a minivan under yellow flag. But in this circumstance, you want to burn as much fuel as possible because the more fuel you burn, the lighter your car gets, the lighter the car is, the faster it goes.
That's a really good point. We'll see if anybody's clever on that one. There's definitely a lot of weaving to keep the tire temperatures up out here. But I haven't seen anybody sort of doing the sort of high revs and accelerate and brake to try and maybe suck up a bit more of the gasoline inside these things. So we'll see who is quick off the line. They're all ready to fan ye. So about past halfway through the lap, and we're getting ready to go again.
This is the lowest section of the racetrack down here. Well, I guess Michael's still kind of back here in about 10th place or so. The safety car is down in what is turn 15, the very, very lowest point of elevation here at the Spa racetrack. I would love to go and visit this place one day. I think that if you're a true motorsports fan, it doesn't matter if you're a driver or a fan, or if you just like watching. I think this racetrack, this town, this city, it doesn't matter if you go for the 24-hour GT3 race, if you go for the F1 race, it would be just a cool experience.
Oh, absolutely. It was so close to being on our list last summer when I went with family, because we found out, I think it's like an hour away from the Nürburgring or something ridiculous, that it's incredibly close, at least by American standards, that we wanted to, but just the timing of everything was already so jam-packed. We couldn't find the time to go over. Plus, there wasn't a race going on, so it would just be kind of showing up you look at the track and then it's okay, we leave now. But regardless, maybe next time, and we'll see whether or not this will give us a good race to watch here, because they're coming up to that bus stop chicane, and the Porsche pace car is going to unleash the 501 of Dawan. He's off the final corner. He can go whenever he wants this time. He's going to hold them, though. Now he is on the loud pedal as the green flag is out, and he gets a pretty good jump behind them. AJ Roper makes up for his poor first start. He's going to try and go around the outside, 3 wide down into the La Source hairpin, and he runs into the side of Jad Duncan. Thankfully, nobody gets spun.
They were solid cars there. They just kind of bounced off one another, and now it's a little bit of side-by-side behind AJ Roper. I think that's Will Castillo going side-by-side, and Mark Rondeau. They finally are now single file. Dustin Heindel is going to have the run up the Kemmel straightaway, but it's not often you see 2 wide through Eau Rouge.
Wow. Everybody has got their elbows sharpened on this one. AJ Roper still battling wheel to wheel and unwilling to give up. Dylan Scott hangs tough for a brief moment before finally AJ Roper takes back that 3rd position.
And keep my eye on that orange 07. Remember, he got kind of pushed back on the initial start, so I think he's got a little bit more speed. We'll see if he's able to go up there and catch the front of the pack as Michael Johnson here still hanging out in 10th, right on the back of Ian Roche in that Marlboro-themed car as we head downhill again.
In fact, Michael, unfortunately, has lost the most places of anybody so far. He's down 3 after the start of this race, and now he's only got about 18 minutes to try and make up for it as we watch Heindel continue to chase on Rondeau. Bit of a train of cars still at this stage of the lap. Let's hop on board with Dustin.
Now, how cool is this view from inside the sim rig? Not only the motion rig, but you got the triple monitors wrapped around you fully like a cocoon. It truly feels like a real race car in that thing.
And a heart rate monitor. I
just noticed that.
I've never seen a feedback heart rate monitor. I've seen them shown on stream, but I'm not sure what much he can gain by looking down and seeing where it's at right now.
I don't think that it's necessarily something that he is going to monitor per se, but it's nice to be able to go back and look and kind of use that as data. And let's just say if you do 10 races here at Spa, what's your heart rate on the first one versus the 10th one? Have you calmed down after that 8, 9, 10 races, or have you just kind of kept that heart rate up? The whole point is you want to be calm inside the car. The lower your heart rate, the more your brain is thinking.
Battle for the lead down to the GT3. Shulam was under attack from Matt Steele, who couldn't get the job done. Now he's going to defend the inside. Coming down into the La Source hairpin, Doug Baccinone is not too far behind himself, but he's not close enough to capitalize as there's a big squiggle by Matt off of the corner.
I was pretty surprised that Shulam, being so shallow into that La Source hairpin, was able to get the exit that he really did. Now, the GT3 cars produce the draft a little bit differently than the GTPs. Let's see how much they close here on this straightaway.
It's looking like it's already pretty significant as they haven't even hit the halfway point up the hill. Trying to spot their brake marker now. Steele back to the racing line as Shulam again defends. He's not feeling super safe here, as it seems like Matt Steele has already got him a bit rattled.
These GT3 cars can definitely use the curbs a lot more. You're going to see them running over the apex and the exit curbs, using more of the racetrack than what these GTPs can really offer the drivers, as it looks like Michael Johnson has finally made his way by Ian Roche. And this is another great view from inside, another good triple setup.
I wonder if his fellow club members might take umbrage with his choice of steering wheel, though. Don't think it quite fits the brand, but yeah, he's lost that position to Johnson, who's now actually running away quite a bit. Castillo's the next one up the road for him. He's trying to pass just to get close to where he started this race. I don't think he's close enough to try and attempt it down into the bus stop, and indeed, he's going to stay single file.
But that shot right there, that TV shot, showed me how close really our entire GTP field is. Yeah, Sagar Dawan's run away by 2+ seconds over BJ Fulton, but then after that, for the most part, everybody can see each other. Everybody's, call it, 1 second away or closer.
Back on board with Michael, still giving watch here. Is he going to be able to make the move into Lacombe? He's going to get a good pull if he can withstand the dirty air up through Radion. across the top of the hill. That looked good to me. He's starting to be reeled in, and I can tell you that Schulem is under attack as well currently into the final corner once more. Instead, maybe a car from behind making a little bit of a poke, and this time Matt Steele made it work. He is now our new GT3 leader.
So from pole position, got shuffled back, and now the pink number 5 is in the lead again. Had a huge look from Jeff Schulem. He's actually going to overtake back for that GT3 lead. I feel like Matt Steele just left the door wide open in the hairpin.
Well, is he going to get it paid right back, though, coming up the Kimmel Straight now that he's let him through? They come over the crest of the hill. Oh, he's right on top of him. This is going to be a great chance for the number 5 as they pick up speed. Already 160 miles an hour as they continue to climb. Defending the inside, Jeffrey Schulem is very, very shallow and maybe too shallow. There goes Matt Steele through once again.
The Uno Reverso card. So Schulem made the big lunge in 1, and it was Steele making the big lunge in turn number 5, really flexing the muscle on that brake pedal all the way around the outside, and now he's actually stretching that gap out just a little bit, 3/4 of a second, as we check back in on our race leader, Sagar Dhawan. I had mentioned that he was 2 seconds in front, and now it's up to about 2 1/4 over BJ Fulton. That might be in partly due AJ Roper is all up in the mirror.
Yeah, he's starting to put the pressure on. Wonder if he can maybe get this one back, because remember, he started in that P2, so he still wants that one more to at least get him back to where he began, and especially if he feels like he's quick enough to try and run down Dhawan. He's going to want to try and dispose of that car quickly. Meanwhile, behind, Scott versus Duncan starting to become a factor. They head through Eau Rouge, and that was a very close moment coming off the hill for Jack Duncan, but it pays off handsomely. He's already ahead.
We had talked about the difference between the open setup and the fixed setup, and one thing that we're seeing rear its head here at Spa is the difference in the top speed. That usually is down to the wing angle, the rear wing angle on the cars. Look at how much faster Dylan Scott is through this section of corners as we check in on Dustin Heindel, because Jad Duncan was so fast down the straightaway, he's actually lacking the downforce through this middle sector.
Interesting. Yeah, this is quite a train that's forming back here. Oh, both of them going very wide off the corner there. Dylan Scott and Marc Rondeau using up quite a bit of the currently paved runoff, at least in the sim. Oh, that was a mistake from Scott. Now, is he going to lose the position as he comes off of Puhan? Rondeau round the outside. Doesn't quite take it to the apex, but didn't need to. He's through.
Yeah, now the comeback comes. Rondeau's going to be able to hang on to it, and I think Dustin Heindel, remember, that was the car that was doing the rallycross moves on the start of the race, one of the more aggressive drivers, and he's looking for some clean air way out wide on the exit of turn 15. He's not going to find it there, but as long as you can time the slipstream right and have the top speed, going into the bus stop chicane is a good opportunity.
Now, I said I don't think that the incident limits will be an issue, but I've been seeing drivers really abuse that paved runoff significantly in a number of spots. In fact, just now, that was Marc Rondeau going a little too deep, and I think that probably would have racked another one up, as now he's got to deal with Heindel to what is going to be the inside down into La Source, but Heindel's going to have to outbrake him into the corner without running into the side of that orange machine, and he gets it done.
Yeah, he's able to put his foot down, and it's a nice exit as well, but once again, now Rondeau, the back end, the caboose is going to have the most powerful slipstream, the highest top end, but it does come down to that wing angle. Does he have enough speed to overtake the car in front of him? And it actually looks like that red, white, and blue car of Dustin Heindel, very trimmed out. I'm looking 192 miles an hour. The car right in front, Dylan Scott, only 182.
Here goes Michael Johnson. He manages to get the apex away from Will Castillo. That's going to put him into 8th position. Now he's got a bit of a task. He's got almost 3 seconds to catch Rondeau in front of him.
I think that's a good challenge for Michael. We know him very well. He's a very successful real-world racing driver. He might have gotten shuffled back a little bit on the start, but now that things have kind of calmed down, I feel like he can get into a groove, just do laps, and I think we'll see him move forward.
And he's a driver who comes from a European background in racing. He's an American, but grew up over in Germany with his family and spent a lot of time racing these tracks. Over on this side as Will Castillo locks him up. Thankfully keeps it from going into the barriers, but definitely has now lost touch with the purple 9 car.
And I think that's just an example of Michael Johnson being focused, right? Not making the mistakes, and the cars behind struggling to try to keep up with them as this battle with Dustin Heindel. I mentioned how fast he is on the straightaway. Look at him using that top speed, pulling out. He's got the long way to go here. Can he outbrake him into the chicane? He's going to be on the left side, which is good here. No contact made between the two, but it's a drag race to turn 1.
And it shows you how much power is underneath these cars. Both of them just squirming, trying to get that throttle down. Still wheel to wheel into turn 1 once again. And it looks like Scott will be able to hold back Dustin Heindel. Now he's going to get the toe.
I think that this is going to go in favor of Heindel here. I just think that the top speed difference between the two cars is going to be too much for Dylan Scott to really try to defend. So here we go on the straightaway. Heindel's going to move drivers left. Is the straightaway going to be long enough that he can physically out-drag him going into the brake zone? Who's going to be more brave? Heindel around the outside. Dylan Scott hanging tough on drivers right. Heindel gets the position.
He was not taking no for an answer. It took him a while, but now he is up into P5. The more they just fight back and forth like this, though, Chad Duncan's been using that opportunity to start to run away. It's about 2 seconds up the road if he's got the speed to try and catch that number 2 machine.
He is actually right on the back of AJ Roper. So yeah, Dustin Heindel might have to do a little bit of work to close that gap, but if Chad Duncan keeps harassing that orange car right in front of him, it might help out the cause.
Let's hope that behind them, Mark Rondeau is able to get his connection together. It's been blinking a little bit out here, but I think it's now starting to solidify. But not a track where, as we've seen, you can have quite a bit of close side-by-side racing, and when a car is blinking like that, it makes it very difficult to predict.
And the other thing with blinking that most people don't remember is that when the car physically blinks out, and if you're drafting behind it, well, guess what? You don't get the draft anymore. They're not physically on the racetrack. So not only is it distracting, but it's actually a performance disadvantage.
That's a good point, yeah. So his rivals will want him to remain there, too. Here we go again. This time it's Dylan Scott going to attack from the outside coming up into La Source. Heindel very shallow into the corner. Can he make it and keep the speed up, or is this going to be a beautiful cutback from Scott? No. Good job by Dustin Heindel. He retains P5.
And I think that was important for Dylan Scott to do that. If he had kind of forced the position gain, he's just going to get it all taken away on the straightaway again, as Will Castillo now hanging out in the 10th place, chasing Ian Roche in that white and red Marlboro-themed car. We're going to see if there's any top speed difference between these two. It certainly looks like Will Castillo maybe one more mile an hour. No, it's certainly going back now in favor of the number 4.
And they're going to be catching lap traffic here soon, because the leaders have already cut through John Mollmeyer. Up next, Baccignone, who's still battling with Jeffrey Schulman for second, will make for a bit of a more formidable situation for anybody that is also in a battle in these GTPs.
Checking in on our leader, going through the downhill turns 10 and 11, known as Puhan. And I can tell you, unfortunately, Ian Roche just had a spin in Jackie Ick's corner as they started going down the hill, backed into the tire wall, but is continuing going. But you were just talking about that GT3 traffic. Here it is, right in the windshield of our leader.
Already caught him up. There's just so much pace difference, but this is a good spot, actually. Look at this. He does have to weave back and forth a bit, but this is an easy flat-out section of the racetrack. Now, what's going to happen here is our leader stays to the side. That was a little bit awkward for both of them and almost cost the race for Matt Steele, who looks like he was nearly out of control.
Yeah, we didn't get to see that too much from the GT3 perspective, but yeah, Matt Steele all sorts of out of shape through Blanchimont and now missed the brake marker into the chicane. The GT3 lead is side by side for second place as BJ Fulton makes his way through. That's our GTP second place car, but look at that, or that pink number 5. I feel like he's struggling a little bit with those GT3s in his mirror.
Well, and he honestly, I think, was in a much better position before the traffic came through. He lost a lot of time to P2 there. Now he's going to have to try and break free of them once again, as behind there was contact between Duncan and Shulam coming into Eau Rouge.
That was incredibly close. Jad Duncan definitely made side-to-side contact with our second-place GT3 car, but you were just saying that Matt Steele had a big gap before the traffic came through. Well, it took it away, and then it gave it back.
And we might want a replay of Dustin Heindel lapping those cars. He went four wheels in the grass at about 170 miles an hour up the Kimmel Straight because they made a move he wasn't expecting, and he had to dodge at the last second. But again, didn't wreck the car, and he's still running in fifth, but I'm sure that was a scary moment.
Now, are we positive that Heindel didn't load the Rally car folder instead of the GTP?
The dirt setup.
Second time he's been off track.
Yeah, and it's handling it quite well, but other than the team having to wipe it down afterwards, I'm sure it's going to be a car that's looking at a nice little points haul today as we watch Jeffrey Shulam, who has now lost second place to Doug Baccione, our pole sitter in the 371, moving backwards here in the GT3s.
I was just going to say that Shulam was in second place and then got really muscled by Jad Duncan through that Eau Rouge Radion complex. Those were the GTPs and GT3s going side by side, too wide through there. And now Shulam is going to have to kind of pick up the pieces. And something we haven't talked about yet, Joe, look at the timer. We're less than 3 minutes left, so he's got to get a move on.
It's 2 laps to go because Sagar just literally went by the start-finish line. There he is there. And that includes the GT3s. They are based on the timing of these GTPs. So whenever they cross the line, that will determine when that white flag comes out. There is BJ Fulton behind him. And the 501 has definitely been running a great race today. He broke that slipstream early, and I feel like that's made all the difference.
And remember, this is a shortened race, so a 4.5 second gap, and we've really only done, call it, what, 8 laps or so? So that's about a half second per lap. That's a pretty good pace difference if you're trying to kind of flex your muscle out front and show everybody that you really are the fastest.
And credit to BJ Fulton as well. He did not start in that second place position, but AJ's not been able to run him down. It's now a 3.5 second gap as well from P2 to P3. So we check back in on Dylan Scott after his ferocious battle with Heindel. Rondeau's the one behind, but I don't think Mark looks close enough right now. And we take another glance as well at our leader in the GT3s. This is Matt Steele.
I think for the most part, all of our battles have kind of separated out just a little bit, and I think the closest is actually that second and third battle for GT3, just behind our leader. Is, I say it all the time, this elevation here at Spa is really something else. This entire section is all downhill. It doesn't stop through this next turn 10 and 11. It continues downhill all the way to 15.
What happened to Roche? Let's see. This is coming down into Jackie Ix. Car gets a little sideways, and a little more than just sideways. It bounces off the wall. He's able to carry on, but now he's fallen to 10th position.
And I can report that happened a handful of laps ago, so Ian Roche is still out there. He is off pace, but still on the racetrack. Looks like we're going to get another replay from the same car. This is through that Puhan section, incredibly fast and more contact with the tire wall that time. Heavier contact, too.
Much heavier contact. I wouldn't be surprised if he did have... Yes, he is in pit lane right now, it looks like. So that explains that situation. Dawan has already taken the white flag. We're on the last lap now. So the 501 blasts down the Kimmel Straight for the last time at speed.
He's just going to be in cruise control, just no mistakes for the remaining 3/4 of this lap, and he should collect a checkered flag. I got my eye on that purple number 9, Michael Johnson. Here he is on the Kimmel straightaway chasing Mark Rondeau. Oh, look at the huge move. Does he get the car slowed up? No contact, but that was extremely aggressive from Johnson.
That was somewhat atypical from him, too, but it just about worked out. I wonder if maybe it was just the difference in braking between these two into that corner, and he wasn't expecting that to become a move. Well, he's got, I think, maybe 2 more good chances until this lap is over, as Darwin is just about done with this lap himself. He's already heading through Fagnes, now up into Stavelot and Curve of Paul Frere.
Pretty flat section of the racetrack here. Use all of those exit curbs on driver's left. Make sure you hit the apex here in turn 15 and then put your foot to the floor. The uphill climb through one of the fastest corners in the world.
Let's watch and see what the onboard looks like through this left-hander of Blanchimont. Man, it looks like nothing in these cars, honestly, just glued to the track through there as he brakes for the last time into the bus stop chicane. The 501 put it on pole, and he's going to bring it home there as well. Victory for Sagar Alwan.
Nicely done. The number 82 of BJ Fulton will be your second place finisher, and AJ Roper, even though he falls down one, will stand on the podium at the end of it all.
Still good, valuable points in the end. Michael Johnson is going to come up short and have to settle for 8th, a position down from where he started. Matt Steele bringing home his pink machine. Now, was it you that was telling me that the different Rexy paints have different names?
Yes, so Rexy is technically the green GT3 car. Roxy is the pink GT3 car, and then Spike is the purple LMP2 prototype they've got.
I was going to recommend Madam Mim because it's like a pink dragon. So anyways, Matt Steele is going to bring
Trogdor?
Yeah, oh, I like that. That's the green one, though. Regardless, Matt Steele is not going to care what it's called. He's going to call it a victory here today at Spa for round 2 in the growing GT3 class.
Then you see the podium come in behind. That's Doug Boccignoni finishing in second. Jeffrey Shulam in the 371 will finish in third. We still do have John Momeyer out here on the course, the final of our GT3 cars. He's coming into this break zone for the chicane. Just one more corner, and he will see Barney at the checkered flag.
Nicely done by Momeyer, up one spot from where he began to take that 4th place. And that's our 15-car field done today, as Ian Roche and Larry Haas will not be able to finish as far as I can tell. That takes us to our results, where Sagar Dhawan is going to be our winner. Actually, we'll hold off on that for just a second, and then we'll get you those unofficial results here. That, despite it being shortened, gave us some really good racing out there, although there are some surprises to me on who finished where today, Joey.
I think we did get to see some GTP versus GT3, and it did not let us down at all, right? We had side-by-side through Eau Rouge and Radion, which you never get. We had cars going off. What was Heindel off at about 180 miles an hour, passing GT3 cars in the grass? So a little bit different from what we saw at Sonoma. We had more GT3s, and I just think it kind of added to the chaos. I'd love to see an even bigger field.
Definitely, especially for the next track, which is going to be Road America. And sadly, I won't get to call that one because I'll be at the actual Road America. And that's a track that definitely shares similarities to this one.
Well, boo-hoo to you, Joe. That sounds like a terrible time to be out in Wisconsin having delicious bratwurst and watching race cars.
I know, it's first world problems for me on that one, but... yeah, I do enjoy this series. Now it looks like we've got the results, though, and as I mentioned, Dhawan is your winner, with BJ Fulton following him home, and AJ Roper going to recover from that bad initial start to at least collect a third. Jad Duncan, with some argy-bargy at some points, manages 4th. Dustin Heindel behind him. Hard-fought top 5 for him. Dylan Scott was P6, and then Mark Rondeau 7th. After that, Michael Johnson finishing 8th today. Will Castillo, the last one on the lead lap, in 9th, and Ian Roche, not able to take the checkered flag, finishes 10th. Joey?
And then the GT3 class results did see Matt Steele coming back from that pole position, right? He fell down a little bit in those opening laps, got back the lead, and claimed the win Doug Baccioni will finish in second place with Jeff Shulam in that 371 in third. And I really can't say enough about those top three. They were together the entire race. They had a great battle on their hands for the entire time. Joan Blumweier finishes in fourth place, and then Larry Haas did finish today just despite one lap down.
Looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Sagar Dawan. Let's hope that he holds on to this one here. Sagar, fantastic race out there today. It was somewhat shortened. Were you happy or unhappy about that? Because it looked like you wanted to break away as soon as you could.
Yeah, no, you never want to do more than one start, especially if the first one goes okay. There was some confusion actually on that first start. We were trying to be nice to everybody and make sure we didn't have a pileup into the first turn. But I think we just had we just got confused, all of us, trying to decide this on the fly, rolling to the line. Probably not the best time to change the rules.
Well, you guys all did an impressive job because there was 4 wide on the exit, and yet nobody wrecked in that corner, despite the best efforts. Were you able to see Dustin Heindel's wild ride around the outside?
No, I didn't.
He was pretty fully sideways there and still didn't run into anybody into that corner, which was impressive. So, as I mentioned, you broke the slipstream. Was that pretty much job one on this fight for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I just left it in attack for the first 2 or so laps. Almost ran the battery out just to break the toe, and then from that point on, I was managing. I was trying something really random. I was very aggressive in how much I was managing the battery. So I was doing 4 switch changes per lap. Every time I entered a tight slow section, I would go into the conserve mode, and then I'd go back into balanced every time I came out of there. It probably wasn't doing anything. It just felt really cool.
It eases your peace of mind, I suppose. Now, for the first season, we wound up seeing you disappear for a little bit. Are you going to be around for the full one this time?
I don't know. I end up traveling a bunch for work, so I honestly don't know. I may or may not make it for most of the season, but I am here for now, and so I'll do all the races I'm in town for.
Well, despite Joey's best efforts for making fun of us for missing races for work reasons, I can understand, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
That was our victor here today, being followed by BJ Fulton. I believe Joey has caught up with him.
Yeah, BJ Fulton, congratulations on the second place here at Spa.
Thank you. Yeah, it felt like a pretty good race. Happy with that.
It seemed like you had a great start. You were able to get up a position there, and then you had your mirrors full of that orange 07 for the most part. What was that like fending him off?
Yeah, it was tough. I felt like we were really equally matched on pace, but I just had a little bit more consistency. Once he made a couple mistakes and fell back out of my draft, I felt a little bit more comfortable. But then we hit traffic, and he was right back there, so it's pretty crazy.
Since the series has gone to an open setup, are you just using a baseline, or are you putting in practice time? Are you downloading a setup? What have you found is the best course of action for you to get the results?
Yeah, I'm using virtual racing school setups and pretty much not changing them too much. But the nice thing about this car is that the in-car anti-roll bar settings allow you to really adjust the balance, and so I tweak that all throughout the race to my liking.
Well, I think you did a pretty gosh dang good job today. Congrats again on that second place. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Thanks. I just want to give a shout out to POC for organizing this and putting these events together and having you guys broadcast it for us. It's a great time. So thanks to POC.
That was BJ Fulton driving the number 82 car today.
Which takes us to third place finisher, AJ Roper. The big question I want to know, AJ, is at the start, it looked like you got jumped a bit. What happened? I heard there was some discussion on changing of the rules. Were you caught out by that?
Yeah, exactly. We were just having some chatter about what we were going to do for the start so that everybody got on the straightaway, and I guess I missed the cue, so yeah.
That explains it then. Definitely surprised us. What did that do to your race? Did that kind of harm the whole thing? Do you think you would have managed to keep that second place if you hadn't have missed that out?
It all depends on that start, right? I don't know. I think I had at times some pace catching up to BJ, but overall he just put together a cleaner race than I did, and I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe if we had stuck in Cigar's toe, but who knows?
Yeah, there's so many ifs and what ifs with racing, but you do have more what ifs coming in 2 weeks' time when we go to Road America. Do you think you could make up for the performance when we go there? It's another very fast, slipstreamy track.
We'll have to see. I'm still learning this car. I think these guys have got the feel of it a little bit more than I have, but I'm having fun. You know, we'll hope for the best and see where we end up. Another podium would be awesome, of course.
Of course, and well, we hope to see you there, and congratulations on top 3 today.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.
AJ Roper finishing 3rd here in round 2 at Spa-Francorchamps, which is going to close us out once again with a thank you to the sponsors of this series, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com, and Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, Dougie, and Christian. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment on GSRC. Like we said, it's off to Road America for the next round. Another classic on Monday, August 12th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.